Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are taking a look at the Tier 10 IGN destroyer, the Shimakaze. Now this is my very first Tier 10 destroyer I have ever received or I have ever achieved to get, and I've been looking forward to the Shimakaze. Now the Shimakaze is not as good as it used to be. It used to be scary good. It had 20-kilometer torps. The torpedoes were very hard to detect. Yeah, the Shimakaze got nerfed pretty heavily, but let's quickly look at the stats. Survivability, hit points is 21,400. Now, this is not stock. My captain does have the increased health on it. I'll talk about my captain skills in a little bit, but just keep in mind that this is not the stock health of the Shimakaze. It's just with my captain's perk on it. Artillery, you have 3 main guns, very similar to the Yugumo. 127 millimeters with a reload time of 5.4 seconds. Max HE damage is 1,800 with a 7.5% fire chance. And max AP damage of 2,200. Now the firing range is a little bit smaller than the Yugimo's with a 9.8 kilometer range, but the shell velocity is pretty decent, 915 meters per second. Not too bad. But of course, we get to the bread and butter of the Shimakazes. The quintuple torpedo tubes, you have 3 of those. So you have 15 torpedoes you can launch out. And when you first get the Shimakaze, you have the 20-kilometer range torpedoes, but they have a abysmal 62 knots, so they are very slow. And they are also detectable by 2.5 kilometers. So very easy to detect, and ships can more than likely be able to avoid them, but that's normally why you want to upgrade your torpedoes to a different set that goes a little bit faster, so you're more likely to actually hit. Reload time is 114.8 seconds with a max damage of 20,967. So yes, stock torpedoes, still not bad. You have 20 kilometers, more than likely you'll hit something that's further behind. It always happens. AA, it's not pretty. AA is not bad. You have 14 single 25 millimeters with a range of 3.1 kilometers and average damage of 30. Then you have one lonely dual 25 millimeters range of 3.1 kilometers with a average damage of 6. Then you have 2 triple 25 millimeters, 3.1 kilometers, average damage of 15, and then your guns add additional AA, 36 damage with a range of 5 kilometers. So AA is not the best, but it's better than nothing. Maneuverability, she is finally back up to the Shimakaze speed. It is something the Imperial Japanese destroyers have not had since the Shimakaze, and it's been a long time coming. Now, my Shimakaze does have the speed boost flag on it, and if we quickly go take that off, because I generally run my Shima with it, you have 39 knots. So, almost the same speed of the Shimakaze. I think it's a little bit slower than the Shimakaze by half a knot, something like that. So, pretty nice. It's very quick and nimble. That's why I enjoy the Shimakaze. Turning circle radius is 690 meters, not as nimble, but rudder shift time is 3 seconds, so pretty decent. Concealment is actually a little bit worse than the Yugimo's, with a detectability range of 5.9 kilometers versus 5.4. So the Yugimo will actually out stealth you than the other way around. So you do have to keep that in mind whenever you're playing against a enemy Yugumo that you will probably spotted. Now the gearing and the Fletcher will also spot you almost about the same time, so something else you do have to keep in mind whenever you're contesting caps. As far as modules, they are the same. Nothing really has changed down here from a Yugumo, but I do want to show off the additional torpedoes. So the mod 3 gives you additional damage with increased speed, so plus 5 knots, but the range is reduced to 12 kilometers and the reload is increased by 2.2 seconds. So if you do get this, you will have faster torpedoes, shorter range, but more damage, and it takes longer to reload. And then you have the really scary ones, the Type F3s. Reload time is reduced to 14.6 seconds. Damage is once more increased to 21,367. And the torpedo speed is increased to 76 knots. But your range is reduced to 8 kilometers. So something to keep in mind, you can keep your stealth, keep firing at range, or you can get a little bit closer. So these are a double-edged sword. You can get close, fire those torpedo spreads. Very hard to actually dodge. They are very quick. And more than likely you'll be spotted, or keep your range and maybe not hit and get you as much damage as you would like. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, my captain, I did show this off in my Hakaym video. I have preventative maintenance, last stand, survivability expert, increases the health, torpedo armament expertise, increases the reload, basics fire and trading, increases the reload on your guns, superintendent, and then obviously concealment expert. So this is the build I've done with my Shimakaze. Like I said, you can probably do this a little bit different. You could get RDF or even advanced firing training, just to increase the range of your guns. It can prove to beneficial, so that's something to keep in mind. But we're going to go ahead and jump into replay. I will see you guys there. Alright everyone, welcome back to a replay in the Shimakaze, and we are currently playing on Okinawa. We have a Montana, Kurfürst, Iowa, Grossa, a Magi, Minotaur, Otago, Chapayev, Gearing, Shimakaze, Hakaym, and a Benson. On the enemy team, there is a Montana, Kurfürst, 2 Grossa, a Magi, Moskva, New Orleans, Chapayev, 2 Shimakazes, a Fletcher, and a Hakaym. Now, I'm excited to actually finally get the Shimakaze. The Shimakaze has been a ship I've been looking forward to for a very long time. Well, actually, probably not that long a time, because I was actually very nervous with destroyers. It was not really my cup of tea. I was more of a battleship player, and that's what I still kind of see myself as. But I do enjoy now playing in destroyers. It is fun to play. It's a little bit more exciting to some extent. Now we are moving into B, and I have to say, the Shimakaze, it's a fantastic ship. It has these very potent torpedoes. You have 15 total. You have 3 spreads of 5. Very powerful. But there's a catch with the Shimakaze's torpedoes. You have 3 different varieties. You have the F1, F2, and F3, if I can remember correctly from myself previously. The stock torpedoes are interesting to say the very least, and there is a enemy Shimakaze that has run up against all our destroyers. All our destroyers went over to be the Benson, the Gearing, and the Hakaym. Had a brain flip there for a moment. Now I am detecting. I'm gonna move into C to see if I can take C away from the enemy at the same time. I do not want to be fired on. Now, like I was saying, the torpedoes they're great. You have this very long range as far as the stock ones are, but one thing to keep in mind is they are only around 62 knots on the speed, so they are a little bit slower, and these higher tier ships are a little bit quicker, especially the Montana. Yamato has a bit of issue turning, and the Kurfürst really has issues. So you can see I fired a spread ahead, mid, and behind, just in case that Montana decides to actually start turning. Now the 20-kilometer torpedoes, like I said, you have that fantastic long range. You can fire from the safety. You will probably never get spotted if you do this, but there's almost always no guarantee that you'll actually hit anything. I mean, granted, sometimes you'll fire a spread and your torpedoes will keep going, and then they'll hit a random ship in the background that you weren't even aiming at. I've done that a few times, but I would almost say that they are not worth it. I would almost recommend to get either the F2 or F3. F3s would be fantastic. Now, both the Hakaym and the Shimakaze do pop up, so we at least know where they are. They were probably trying to head north and try to get around our battleships, and we do land a torpedo, which is always very nice. Now here's a slight thing about the Shimakaze. Few downsides of the Shimakaze over the Yugumo. The Shimakaze has a much higher detection than the Yugumo. The Yugumo can get around 5.4 if you have a fully trained captain, as well as the concealment module. So the Shimakaze has a detection of 5.9, and we do get first blood. Very, very nice. Then it comes down to the guns. The other downside of the Shimakaze, other than the detection, is her guns. The Shimakaze has the same setup as the Yugumo. You have one turret in the front, two turrets in the back, but the reload time is a little bit slower for the Shimakaze, and the Shimakaze doesn't have as far a range as the Yugumo. The Yugumo actually has around a kilometer more than what the Shimakaze has, about a kilometer roughly. So your guns aren't at that great firing long range, but they do have these very, they're not lazy, they're very fast shells. They have around 900 meters per second, which are pretty potent. So you can actually land your salvos pretty decently well as long as you aim properly. And the Shimakaze has fired and is just being detected by me. And we do get a fire. We do knock out a engine. Very, very nice. Let's see. Can we get kill number 2? Now, I probably should also point out this is my very first game with the Shimakaze. So this is kind of a learning curve for me. And I am dropping torpedoes, hoping that Montana in the background will actually move into those torpedoes, because you can try to follow the guidelines on where the ship is heading, but that's not always going to tell you where he's actually planning on going. Because if you look at the map, if that Montana had kept going in that direction, he would have eventually run into an island. So that's why I aimed my torpedoes actually away from that island, because more than likely he's going to turn in and he's going to try to take the attack towards our friendly ships nearby. And probably one little side note, if I do sound a little gravelly, I do apologize. I am still combating the sickness. I am actually recording a whole bunch of my replays in bunches because update 0.6 is coming out here soon, and I would like to actually have all these replays ready for you guys so I can show off my, like, for example, my very first time experiencing the Shimakaze. So yes, still combating the sickness. I will get over it here soon, and hopefully everything will sound a little bit better. Now, we do land a hit on that Montana, which is actually kind of lucky, honestly, because he was actually turning in, but fortunately for us, the Montana is kind of a fatter ship than, say, the Iowa. And this is something you probably should also keep in mind. Shimakaze has decent guns, so don't just sit idly by and not fire. When it's something like this, where it's one ship versus the entire enemy team, or entire friendly team, use your guns, help out, catch fires. It's always beneficial to do this. Now, our team has kind of lemming trained over to C. Don't really know why this happens. Sometimes you get this weird lemming trend. And B is now being contested by the enemy team. A Benson and a Yugumo are currently combating against the Kerfers, and I believe there's also a Fiat de Grasse that's moving in, as well as the two enemy destroyers still left on the team. And I will say there is one additional bonus to the Shimakaze besides having those torpedoes, is the speed. The speed is back. Now, the Shimakaze is probably the Japanese destroyer ship that I fell in love with, and still technically have. I now have the Kamikaze, which is essentially a Shimakaze, just a different form of it. And the Shimakaze had around 37, 39 knots And then you get to, say, the Mutsuki and the Hatsuharu. This was before the branching of the path. And your speed just disappears. You go from around 39 being very zippy, very quick, very agile, to these more slower and cumbersome, well, not really cumbersome, but slower destroyers. And all the way up to even the Yugumo. Yugumo can get around 37 and a half, 37, 38 knots, something like that. And granted, the Yugumo is actually a lot closer than what the other ships were, but you don't have that speed. And then you get to the Shimakaze, and it has the actual 39 knots, which is extremely beneficial to actually zip around. Now, I have started to lay smoke because I'm trying to help out my team. This is something you probably need to keep doing, just so that your team does not get focused down. Granted, at this point, we are ahead in ships as well as points, so it's not that major concern. But in my firing, I ran right in front of the friendly Curvurst, and the Curvurst is a big ship, so he very easily pushed me aside. So I'm gonna try to push forward a little bit and see if I can help out. Now, unfortunately, my spread of torpedoes did miss, which is highly unfortunate. Would have been nice to get a little bit more torpedoes, but it's alright, I guess. And we do lose our Montana to the enemy Shimakaze, but the Shimakaze does go down to the friendly Montana. Now, all that's left on the enemy team is an Amagi, Fita de Glace, Moskva, New Orleans, and a Fletcher. But I don't really foresee them lasting very, very long. And look at this. Look how many torpedoes. This is just one thing I love about the Shimakaze, is the wall of skill. I hate seeing it whenever I'm in a battleship, but playing as the Shimakaze and able to dispense just this massive wall of torpedoes. And these torpedoes do fairly sizable chunk of damage, around 21,000 points of damage, so they definitely will hurt anyone that does dare to come too close or get in the way of your torpedoes. Now, the Fita de Glace does go down to the Curvurst, and the Fletcher does pop up, so I decided to help out, try to do my part. And one good little thing about the Shimakaze, you can actually invisifire with this ship. You only have around, looks like around a kilometer of invisifiring. So it is feasible to invisifire with the Shimakaze, but once again, you don't have like the Udaloy's guts. So the enemy team, it only has a Moskva who is very low on health, and a Amagi that is just running away. I don't really blame him. There are quite a few big ships still left in this match on our team, and the New Orleans I have yet to see in a while. Here I'm trying to actually see if I can land a hit on this Amagi, but unfortunately the Amagi is able to slip right through our torpedoes and should be able to get away safely. But I'm gonna go ahead and actually jump to the victory screen, because unfortunately for me, I don't get any other kills or damage in this match. So I will see you in just a second. So our team earned a victory for our very first game, which is actually very nice, because most times whenever I take out a new ship, I generally die and then it's a defeat or something like that. So we earned 357,501 silver, 4,535 XP, and 227 free XP. We got first blood. We did 88,422, not probably the highest damage dealing game, but first game, not too bad. I'm not overly concerned with it. We got 66 shell hits, 2 torpedo hits, 5 incapacitation, 2 kills, 4 fires, and 2 floods. We earned top of the team with a base XP of 1,793. We did the most damage against the Montana, which was always very, very nice. And we did about 31,510 points of damage due to the torpedoes hitting, and then around 29,000 points of flood damage and around 6,000 to fires. So it's always very nice to see that flood damage coming in. So after everything is said and done, we receive 149,428 silver. And this will probably not be the last time you'll see the Shimakaze. I will actually go ahead in later videos as I get them. I will show off each of the torpedoes, see how they feel, and what I would recommend. As I mentioned probably previously, the F3s give you the highest speed of 76 knots, so they're very zippy, very quick to actually reach target. But the downside is they're only 8 kilometers, and you have a detection of 5.9, so they're a little bit high risk, high reward torpedoes. And we'll see how that actually works out. So I'm going to end this video off here. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zai Jen.